Good afternoon. That's how we ended last week's video, and it's how we're going to start this week's video, because it's Brexit season. Yeah, as in Great Britain, everything's going crazy at the moment, and well, we've only got a few days left of March, and I've already got a German passport as well, so if everything goes completely to pot, I'll just take my British passport and throw it away, because it's going to be completely worthless anyway. Enough politics, back to music, back to organ music. Today we're talking about why would anyone actually want to learn the organ? What's the point? Let's hope you work it out by the end of the video. So by now you may have noticed that I'm going to keep speaking English for this part of the video, and I'm going to continue to do this. We've had an idea, my missus and I have had an idea. We're not going to do it like we did last time, where I just do the introduction in English and German, and then I do a German video and dub it later. I personally didn't like that. So this week we're going to do a complete German video and a complete English video, which I'm going to post twice, obviously. So I want you to tell me what you think is better. Now, everyone says, oh, you go to an awful lot of trouble and you do all this work for us. I think, well, yeah, that's the idea. I want you to watch these videos and I hope you learn something from them. That's the whole point. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not just doing it for a bit of fun myself. I want to help people learn about this mysterious instrument that nobody seems to know about anymore. Has gone ever so slightly out of fashion. So, yesterday I posted in my community, I posted a comment and I said what we were going to do today, and I asked for people sort of ideas, maybe they have questions that they want me to answer. And one of the questions I thought was rather interesting. Somebody asked, what do I actually need to play the organ? And he didn't mean I need an organ and I need a church and so on and so on. He actually, what do I physically need to play the organ? Well, my answer to that is very simple. You need something along the lines of fingers, as many as possible. You need something along the line of feet for the pedal. Ideally two, but one will do. And theoretically, you need something, some kind of recognition system so that you can maybe read or feel what's going on in a piece of music and transmit that to your fingers and feet, something like a brain. That would be quite useful. Now, yeah, some people are going to think that's very politically incorrect of me to say that, but no, it's meant as a joke, of course. But if you haven't worked it out by now, I do all this a bit tongue-in-cheek, yeah? But before the real political correct people get a hold of me here, I do actually have experience of organists who don't have, or who are not fully able-bodied, as it were. One of my first teachers was blind, piano and organ actually. I know an organist who's missing a finger. I also know one organist who has no legs. He's got prosthetic legs with blades and then shoes attached at the bottom, with which he then plays the organ. And wonderful, very talented. Back in Edinburgh, where I played before, my predecessor was a deaf organist. I'd never come across a deaf organist before, and he was again a brilliant organist and choir master, believe it or not. He was able to lip read if everyone was singing at the same time. Absolutely wonderful. And his daughter used to sort of stand by him and turn pages and help with registration and things like that, and occasionally give him a nudge if something had maybe gone wrong, like something had happened to the organ, a note was stuck or something like that. So it's perfectly possible. So yeah, back to the subject. What do you need to play the organ? You need a body. Simple as that. Okay, so this is going to be part one of a series of videos on how to play the organ. I'm not going to do this every week. We're going to do this from time to time. Yeah, we're going to introduce organs. We're going to visit different organs. We're going to talk about different kinds of pieces of music. Blah 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 blah. And we're going to do a little series on how to physically learn the organ. And what do you need for that? Well, we've talked about the physical bodily bits. You need to do that. But what about the musical stuff? Well, it helps if you've played the piano before. It's not 100% necessary, but it does help, okay? Because, the more your fingers already know and the more your fingers can already do, the easier it's going to be to get the coordination going with all the other stuff you need to play the organ. You've got to do your registrations, you've got swell pedal, you've got the pedal board for the notes on the pedal, and that takes a bit of time. So the more you can already do on the piano, the easier it's going to be to move on to the organ. I should explain at this point, by the way, what we're doing one scene in German, and then we're repeating the exact same scene in English. So you can imagine what's going on in my tiny little head with my tiny little pea-sized brain at the moment. It's a complete mess. My wife's laughing the whole time, so I hope the camera is actually nice and steady for you. So what's the difference then between a piano and an organ? Well, the first thing that you must remember, please, And all those other organists out there, those you know the kind of people I'm talking about. They go on about the organ being the queen of instruments, or the king of instruments, or the whatever of instruments. Yes, it's the most wonderful. Yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, it's a machine. Okay, it is not a violin. A violin where I am actually attached to this instrument. I'm holding it with both hands. It's pressed against my body. It's part of me. Yeah. With my left hand, I can control some wonderful vibrato. With my right hand, in the pressure on the bow and the speed of the bow, I can control everything. Yeah. You can't do that with an organ. You press a button, it makes a noise. You let go of the button, the noise stops. That's it. It's a machine. I have a feeling that's maybe why there are so many organ nerds in the world, because it's basically a big, complicated machine for people to play with. Okay, so main difference between piano and organ is that. As long as that button is pressed, that's going to make a noise. Okay, so the button has to be pressed, some stops have to be pulled, the air has to be inside the organ with the motor, etc., etc. Okay, so a few mechanical things that have to take place, but basically, when I press a button, it makes a noise. When I let go of the button, it stops. And that's the same down in the pedals. The pedals are exactly the same. They're obviously a bit bigger because your feet are, well, less well controllable than your hands. You don't use your whole foot, or a part of your foot, to play one pedal instead of one finger on one key. So anyway, yeah? And it's exactly the same thing here. I press a pedal, there's a note, I let go of the pedal, the note stops. The first thing you're going to learn when you start to play the organ is the coordination between hands and feet. Now we're assuming that you play the piano already, so that's not a problem. Your hands know what they're doing, things like that. First thing you're going to learn is feet. And before you start playing around with the feet by themselves, that's actually the easy part. The difficult part is coordinating. So my very, very first organ lesson when I was a very little boy was play a note with your left hand and play the same note with the pedals with your left foot. Yeah, so I chose C, so I play a C with my left hand and a C with my left foot. Okay, that part of my coordination is obviously working. Same thing with the right hand. I've got my right hand here, I've got my right foot here. I'm going to play an E and... Okay, I fluffed that one up. Let's try that again. Fluffed it again. My coordination from my right hand to my right foot is obviously not quite as good as my left hand to my left foot. Is that because I'm actually left-handed? I have no idea. We have two halves of a brain. I take it most of you have two halves of a brain as well, and they control all sorts of different things, and part of that is your coordination. I'm not sure if that's the right side or the left side. I can't remember. I didn't study that. I studied music. And then, to get to the next level of coordination, we take our left foot and our right hand. And then, left foot and right hand. And swap between them. And so on and so on and so on. Don't forget, when I did that, I was a very small child, okay? I wasn't interested in playing magnificent fugues by Bach on that day. I just wanted to sit at the cathedral organ in Inverness in the north of Scotland and have a bit of fun, okay? So that's part one of coordination at the organ. What's next? So one of the other main differences between the piano and the organ, especially when we're talking about the keys here, the manuals, is the difference between the way the pipes speak, or the way you can play different lines of music. And then we're going to get into some musical terms. There's one that's called legato, which means sort of all smooth and joined together, and the other one is staccato, which means all chopped up, okay? So staccato is easy. That's it. Short, fast, definitely not joined together. And then the other one is legato, okay? Everything as joined together as I can make it. So when you're doing that with individual notes, it's quite easy. Okay, you're listening more than playing, really. You're making sure that one note is sounding at a time, and you're not sort of slurring them together like this. Yeah, I'm trying to play as cleanly as possible. and so on and so on. What if, however, I have chords like I did at the beginning? Now that's quite difficult to do because I've got to cheat. Watch what my thumbs are doing. I'll do it again. Here, these guys. Watch what these guys are doing. My thumb is sliding between the notes as legato as possible. And that's something I had to learn quite quickly when I started learning the organ. It's all about sort of cheating, basically. And there's things like this, when you need a few extra fingers on the way up. So you substitute your fingers. And you may say, well, why would you need to do that? Well, imagine I'm playing chords. And there's a lot of movement going on between those chords. I'm going to substitute fingers. I'm holding a note, substituting for another finger, so that I'm ready to move in the next direction. When you're playing a piano, you've got your pedal. Yeah, you've got your thingy pedal, and that your thingy pedal. You know what I mean? And that holds the notes for you. Yeah, and you can't do that on an organ. So that's one of the most important differences between the two, and something you really need to learn if you want to be a decent organist. Moving on. Okay, so we've covered the hands, we've covered the thumbs. Thumbs belong to hands, but never mind. We've covered the manuals. Now it's time for the pedals. And if you would care to swing down with your camera there. You've got 2 feet normally, so you've got a left foot and a right foot. And you've got the whole pedal board from down at the bottom all the way to the top. And it's not that you play the high notes with your right foot and the low notes with your left foot. You can move around, swing around, and have both there. If you care to swing up a little bit, I'm going to play a feature here. And I'm going to have to move my body round a bit. Kannst du vielleicht nach oben kommen, bitte? Thank you. I've had to swing my entire body round so I can get my left foot up to those top notes, and if I were doing the same down there, it's the same at the bottom end, yeah? So you've got to swing around. Organists need lots of different pairs of trousers, because you're always wearing the bum of your trousers with all this rushing around here on the thing. Now, a big subject in the organ world is organ shoes. And as you can see, these are my specialist organ shoes. They're my size 9s, they're my outdoor shoes, and yeah. I'm not a great believer in spending a lot of money on shoes just to play the organ. Now, yes, if I were to go out and I were to be playing classical organ concerts on a daily basis, yeah, then I probably would have a pair of dedicated organ shoes. And it's quite important that these shoes have a little bit of a heel at the back, okay? They need a little bit of a heel, because when you're playing the organ, you've got 2 possibilities on the pedals. You've got the front of your foot, and you've got your heel, okay? So, if I'm playing a C major scale, I can play it heel, toe, the whole way. Watch this. Yep, that's easy. I can do that. I can do the same with my right foot on the way up, and so on and so on. But if I'm playing complicated passages, I'm needing to move between heel and toe and left and right all the time. We'll look at that when we get to a piece of music in a future episode. Yeah? If I can take the camera, I just briefly like to show you what my wife's wearing today, and these are shoes that you cannot play the organ with. Let me have the camera quickly, and just turn one of your feet sideways. I'm just going to, don't worry, I'm only going to show you bottom half. Check this out. The missus is wearing these shoes today, and I don't think it's going to be possible, really, to play the organ with shoes like that. But then again, I suppose if you practiced enough, anything's possible. So that's basically it for part 1 today. Part 2, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to look at actual sort of day-to-day organist's music. And I've chosen this wonderful old book. Look how old it is. It's from 1932, and it's the organ accompaniment part to the hymn book from this part of Germany. And I don't know if you noticed this as well. Look, it's basically the colors of the German flag, slightly faded over the years. The new books have much stronger colors. There you have your German colors again, and a couple of different ones. So you can play around with different colored flags if you want. Nice. And if I pull on this black one, what does it turn? Aha! I get number 46, Fastenzeit, that means Lent, that's what we've got at the moment, yeah? And this piece of music, number 46, this is what we're going to look at next time. And this is the kind of thing a church organist is going to have to do on a daily basis, basically. Yeah? You have to accompany a hymn for the congregation to sing along with. So how do you do that? These are written in 4 parts. So how do you split the 4 parts between the hands and the feet? How are we going to register it? What speed are we going to choose, etc., etc.? And that's what we're going to look at in the next part. But like I said, we're in the middle of a hailstorm, and it's freezing cold in the church today. So we're going to play a little bit of music to finish, and that's it for today. See you next time. Today we're going to play a quick piece of music and close things up. Don't forget, by the way, we've got a little bit of a sort of a race going on at the moment, a sort of a competition, if you like. And the prize is that I play that, Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Everybody requested, everybody wants it. Some people even had the cheek to say, can you even play it? Well, find out. And the idea is, if I get 10,000 subscribers, or when I get 10,000 subscribers, then I'm going to play it for you, okay? And if I get 10,000 subscribers by the end of May, you're not going to see me dressed like this. I'm going to be in my kilt, okay? With my cheesy white legs and etc., etc. You're going to see the whole thing, okay? Not the whole thing, just, you know what I mean. I'm going to play it in my kilt, okay? And I think what we'll do, if I see that we're getting there by the end of May, we're already at roughly 4,000, by the way. So if we get there by the end of May, then I'm going to show you how you learn a piece of music like that. It's a very complicated piece of music to learn. It's quite intensive. And I think we'll use that for one of our lessons. You know, how do you actually get down to learning a piece of music like that? But for today, we're going to move away from the classical stuff. The last few weeks I've only been playing classical music, so it's back to a bit of jazz and blues today. And perfectly fitting with the weather, I think it will be a bit of blues, and I'm just going to call it the organ donor blues. That's a bit of a pun there on the word organ, I hope you don't mind. And that sounds something like this. Bye bye.